Regardless of who wanted it, how do we want to do this? Just go through everybody and have them raise them if they have any issues, or do we have some specific agenda items we want to hit that we know we should organize?
Agenda items, I have only one. And we see in which we have from the local council, community council, ASC council,
Forum council,
developer membership board,
EMEA.
yeah, the RMBs.
I think we have decent coverage, not perfect, but reasonable.
One thing I'm interested in is to find out. Oh, no, let me start somewhere else. In the community council, we sometimes have very long discussion processes because we reach out to other folks, then we try to come to a consensus. Then the next step, in a lot of cases, is to come up with some kind of draft, either for some kind of an announce or a new process, and then that is discussed a couple of times again. Sometimes there's UDS, or people are on holidays and you don't get a reply at all. So in a lot of cases, it just drags on and on and on and on, and it got me great. And I asked a few others, and they said, in our board or in our decision-making group, it's similar. Who has experienced something like that? Yeah?
And we're doing something about it, if I may say. We have just implemented, within the last week and a half or so, let me just bring it up and I'll show you all. This, which is OS Ticket.
Oh, okay.
You can go to ubuntu.com/tickets if you want to look at it. Thank you. And we're just working out final details on exactly how this works. So we've had some complaints about it's going slow and whatever, and it's true. You know, there are things that have sat in the system for so long. This allows people to check their ticket status, have a look at it, reply to it, have a feeling that they can watch what's happening. You know, always go back and check it rather than go through their emails.
Sure, and I think it's super helpful to also have a list of all the open items.
Yeah, I mean, we've been using Track internally, but it hasn't given that ability for people to check and see that something's open, and it's still there, and it's still on our radar.
But still, the discussion process is still the same, right? It's still problematic, no?
Yes, this is true.
Yeah.
However, I think half of the problem is not that the people we are not doing it because of whatever reason. It's that people can't see that something is happening.
Right.
Right, and so that's half the battle in my.
You know, some of these things, it takes 2 or 3 months to take action, but that's because there's a couple of weeks of discussion, there's a month period during which there's some observational review, then it takes a couple of weeks to come up with an answer, and then there's 2 months.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's not necessarily, it's unfortunate that the response time isn't quick, but I'm not sure that making it shorter makes it better. As long as we're providing useful feedback of why it takes 2 months. And that's the appropriate expectation.
Well, I mean,
and we can reliably hit 2 months and not have it slip to 3 every once in a while.
The other thing that, if I may say so, the other problem that we have is there is, at some points, there's 2 things here. One is that somebody asks a very large task of us. You know, oh, we need some sort of policy on such and such, and we need to take that to the community, we need to talk about that, we need to formulate the policy, and they don't actually help at all or give anything to that task, you know. And so if they're demanding a really quick thing that we do that, then that's kind of hard. The other thing is sheer decisiveness. There are things that are sort of and then people don't make a decision. They go, oh, I think this or I think that, and then nobody actually takes the decision and takes a poll and says, hey, this is how. And that is an internal process problem.
Well, what I've noticed on the Forums Council and the Community Council both is that, you know, we kind of wait for everybody to respond.
Yeah.
Even though we get quorum, sometimes we get quorum within like 20 minutes.
Right.
And I think on those cases, you know, unless it's like the big, you know, case when we had to remove the one person.
Yeah.
I think most cases, once we get quorum, fine.
Yeah. If it's a matter of
If there's a little minor.
JFDI, I think that's totally fine. But
Right.
things like that one and the wiki relicensing, for example.
Right.
I really wanted to get everybody's input before we
Yeah,
before we
that
do
was
it,
too.
right?
Right.
And that's so one thing I tried the last time was because it drove me mad. I was sitting there, mailed people, didn't get replies, and so I thought, okay, I'm going to ping everyone on IRC now. I want a decision from everybody now, and that helped. It gave me in 4 hours I had everybody's
Right.
vote on it, and we could proceed. So that's one thing. Or another approach was, I don't know who did it. I think it was one of you who sent an email. Okay, if there's no objections, I'm going to do this tomorrow. Done.
Yeah,
That's an interesting one.
it was around Christmas time, so
Yeah.
everyone was gone. I'm like, guys, I think, and we might have had quorum at that point too.
Yeah.
So I think we had quorum, and I was just like, no one said anything on this for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd like to set up maybe maybe Etherpad or something. And the problem is just me just
Tracking.
keep tracking it. You know, I'm trying to use Gmail to track it. That's a disaster.
You
Which
mean
is-
the email threads?
Or yeah, just the things that we need to keep on top of.
Oh, I thought I mailed everybody about it. I set up a Google document with all this stuff. Like it's,
You mail someone about keeping track of mail threads?
yeah, but it has the status and everything, so what
Okay.
still
Yeah.
it's doing.
That's what we're kind of doing with the OS ticket, and I think, and what we've been doing with Track for the last 12 months. And I think the problem that we had with Track was it's a lot of work to transfer it all from email and whatever. With OS ticket, it's all email based. It's like RT, so it just everything's there, you know. And so you can go in there, you can make tickets, you can track all of the tickets as just a list of the open ones, there's a list of the closed ones, there's a list of answered but still open, you know, so it makes the workflows work a lot better to have a ticket tracker. I know the Loco Council have said that they're using private bugs on Launchpad. That's all right too, but it's not quite the same as having a ticket tracker in mind.
I'm a little nervous about too much adoption of too many different places because of a lot of the reasons why we have slow deliberation processes that are not very transparent is confidentiality. And if we're exposing this on third-party ticket systems, then we may not necessarily have that, continue to have that confidentiality at the same degree.
Yeah, the way this does it is when it generates a random ticket number and it uses your email address and a ticket number to get in.
It's
So,
not just that, it's that the administrators of the system.
okay, which is me and Terry.
No,
Yeah.
in the case of you running that on Ubuntu.com, that's something where the IRC Council already has sufficient resources for the IRC Council that are trusted only by the IRC Council. I don't have a disclosure issue with that, but I don't know that we want to sort of generally socialize the idea that councils should do that or
No,
adopt
I
it.
think we have to do whatever works for that council, because
Yeah.
I don't think we should want ticketing systems for everyone, because I don't think it's going to work for every team, and it feels, part of it feels like a technical solution to a social problem.
Yeah.
So I mean, if it works for you guys, that's great, but I don't know that we want to have it, like if Google Doc works for us, I mean, I
Yeah,
think we'll
fair
stick
enough.
with
And I think it's got to be the technical solution that suits the social problem. As the technical solution that suits the technical problem that you're having. I don't think that's a social issue, the part that solves.
Well, but
No,
part of
but
it
it's
is, part of it
different.
is communication. I mean, we could do a better job of, you know, because sometimes someone emails a council, and then immediately they're removed from the CC, from the, you know, the carbon copy, CC. And then we start discussing it off, we'll be like, listen, this guy is emailed, you know, we'll talk about the problem. And we totally forget that we never replied to the original responder saying that we're talking about it.
In some cases, there have been decisions posted that were requested, and the original requester has never been notified that the two
Yeah.
are related, and is shocked and surprised
Yeah,
to
and
discover
that's
that,
bad.
you know, that thing they did several months ago affected this. Because they've forgotten they made a request and they've given up. And that makes us, you know, not necessarily look bad.
There's two social advantages. If you have an open to-do list of what's currently being worked upon, and people don't have to feel guilty about asking about the status, okay? They don't have to worry about pestering you because it's not there. The second advantage, of course, if it's up there publicly and nothing's happened for 3 months, there is an implicit guilt that occurs on the
So the question is, we had a fairly controversial case recently where we decided to ask somebody exposing the fact that we were deliberating that may have unfairly tarnished the reputation of that person.
Yeah, unfortunately, we have a lot of things like that in the community council. I mean,
The
not
vast
that
majority,
bad.
no,
But yeah,
but the vast majority
we
are
don't-
things where they're confidential for a reason. Now, I'd be very happy to have an open agenda on our IRC meetings for all the things that aren't
Yes,
having issues like that, but
that's what we did in the last few ISC meetings. That we said, okay, right now we're looking into the wiki relicensing, blah blah blah, business data is updated, and all the rest of it.
But you can say and 3 other issues.
Yeah.
oh, actually, that's not a bad idea, to say, and 3
Yeah.
confidential issues, and we can keep it count, and if that count is rising, people can call us on it. And if that count's going down,
We've actually have that on most of our team reports. X amount of private issues dealt with. I think it's on the current one actually.
Are there any other issues you want to talk about?
On the wiki ones.
How can we more effectively use Pokey as judge, juror, and executioner?
He's already drunk his power, I don't know if we can go any further with that.
True problem.
What kind of flowers should we buy him for being so mean?
Black roses, of course.
He's down.
Something I wanted to bring up probably in the session was about region membership boards. But Emmett already answered my question off topic, I mean off the room. So that's
we have the restaffing thing that we've been dealing with for a very long time that we need to solve.
Yeah, I think.
But that's on the list and of things we know we need to solve, so.
Is that the Asia Oceania?
Yes, I think
Yeah,
we just need to approach people directly and say,
Didn't we just tell the local person to do it?
We told the local council to go and talk to people to make sure that we have better connection with all of the locals rather than it being Australians and me, which just is not the right model.
Right.
so maybe we should follow up with them and see if they've got some more.
Yeah. You see from the local council? Fine.
Sorry.
I feel better now.
No, we'll figure it out.
Elizabeth?
Yep.
I just had a question. I just scanned your blog post on Planet Ubuntu, and it said, for this session, Mark brought together several leaders from the community, including Amber, Scott Ritchie, And I'm just wondering what qualifies me as any sort of leader.
You were sitting in the fishbowl.
Oh, okay.
So we're already done.
But no, I think it's a larger question, right? That in terms of governance, you don't need to be official or anything to be
Yeah.
leadership in this project. Yeah, I think it's a point where.
Yeah, you don't have to have an official title. I mean, you're a leader because you do things and people follow you and you're awesome. So.
Yeah, just so that people can see what we've been doing at the RCC is we've got our team report. Yeah, but the wiki is incredibly slow. So what we've done here is we've listed the things. We've got our
I'm not sure.
What?
I'm not sure if we answered Scott's question.
I'm
I think
sorry.
I did.
No, the big point is that the way you become a leader is that you go do something and you're awesome and people follow you.
Right.
And that makes you a leader. It's not about,
Election.
our government's policy is not, we
Appointment.
don't control who the leaders are, we just recognize them when they emerge.
Yeah. So what I was saying is, well, as you can see on our team report, which is wiki.ubuntu.com/irc-council/team reports with IRCC in capitals, we have the meeting report, and then we have the other items which anything that we can say is public, like we've got here, we made blueprints and wiki work, and we gave admin rights to someone in a certain channel, is listed there. And then we have 3 appeals, other requests dealt with. So this is whatever has been dealt with that month.
And it gives people a good idea without going into too much detail.
Yeah, it just says, hey, we've been doing stuff, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's on the notes.
And then
I
it's
just wanted
something
to
that
show.
probably other councils should all adopt, include probably starting as an example, the community council. Encourage.
Yeah, we do team reports now.
Yeah, we're moving in the right direction.
One thing I thought of about the community council is I know that some of us our terms are up in like 3 months.
Yes.
So
So
we
we
should probably
start planning for that.
Yeah, I sent a list to what's the list called again? The Ubuntu council teams list.
I thought it was
Just
October,
about
but maybe my memory's bad.
Yeah.
I have one more quick thing.
So Forums Council, then the Ubuntu Council,
Oh, the list of all the.
technical board, and then a community council in October. So there's still some time.
Yeah.
If you want to have a look at it, it's here.
Just one more quick thing that I'd like to just bring up if we could. I know we have somewhere a document that says what councils are supposed to be doing. I think Daniel wrote it 1 or 2 times ago that says, you're supposed to be doing team reporting and you're supposed to be doing this and that and the other. Do you remember this document, Daniel?
Is that how
It was
staffing works?
It was a governance.
Yes. I know.
Yeah. Could we publicise that again so that the teams remember that this is something that's important and
It's on the wiki.
Yeah,
Yes, it's on the wiki.
Maybe some
We need to
links.
delete all the pages anywhere near it so that people can find it.
yeah, or
And, I mean, you can just send a reminder email.
yeah,
to
I
the
just needed to
council.
find the document for me. That's all. Because I think this is actually fairly important that the teams remember that hey, we actually have to do stuff. That we're here and
Yeah.
Yes.
thank you. That's the one I meant.
Open them.
Yes. All right.
So, what about it? What do you think we should?
I just think that we have to.
Just remember, read it once in a while,
Yeah,
to remind
read it.
ourselves
Yeah,
what we're doing.
basically. It's, hey, have a review of this. Remember that there are things that you need to do because we have community and we have people who are needing to see this information. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, go and have a look. I mean, I can take an action item to go and send that email.
Yeah,
That's
sure.
appropriate.
Yeah, you
Thank
can
you.
just
No, I mean, as long as it doesn't seem like it's, coming out
Just
a bit
give
arrogant,
the,
hey, we're doing awesome and you're not.
the Ubuntu council teams mailing list.
can do that.
And maybe share that you remembered some of that, and that, you know, the rest of us can help remember.
Yeah, if I have any problems, I'll come and annoy you.
Oh, lovely.
Are all of them on that team council list?
So
And, so everybody's, okay, I'm just thinking about this one. One other quick thing, which is kind of not really related to governance, but UDS and so on. With one thing, just because I've got an action item there, I find it very hard to track all the action items I get. So I go through all these. Yeah, so is there somebody coming
Yeah.
that?
See, if you see, we're having square brackets around the nickname, right? So
Yes.
we're going to put hash next UDS because Etherpad has a built-in plugin where if you put a hash, it will turn into something like what Twitter does with hashes. Can you please put a hash?
Touch on the tag.
If it, Yossi's name, can you put a hash?
Mm.
The problem is that that breaks other things.
Yeah, so we have to fix the other things first.
Okay, so you're
And
doing
then
something
we'll-
about it, that's all I need to
Yeah.
know. Thank you.
Yeah, so it converts into that.
Yes, I've seen that, yes, all right.
All right. You wanted to say something?
Yeah, I was just kind of quietly so no one would notice that I was late.
You came too far forward to get away without being noticed.
That difficulties with speed of decision making, without wanting to rehash the discussion, is that in reference to the conversations we had around a problematic member of the community?
No, it's, in
Just
general, we
general.
often take 2 or 3 months, but that quickly was, it takes us a while to figure out what to do. We often spend a month asking for more opinions, and then a
Yeah.
couple of weeks doing something. We need more exposed that we're working on things in order to make it that people don't think we've forgotten, even though it might take a while between a request and an action.
I mean, mail threads are a difficult way to get a sense of balance of consensus. I sometimes wish we could say, okay, are there 1 board position, 2 board positions, or 3 board positions here, and who's where, and can we resolve those? You know, I was thinking of the way, like the Supreme Court will say, you know, there's a decision, the majority opinion was written by this person, and these people signed up to it, and there was a dissenting opinion, which is normal and okay, which is, you know, written by this person, and, you know, these people signed up to it. And I think we do well to avoid voting and saying, well, it's a 5-4 decision, or a 3-2 decision, or a casting vote decision. But I wonder whether we could maybe crystallize out positions so that we're then also creating a basis for saying, this is the view, you know what I mean? But this is what we're going to communicate out, you know, more widely. I don't know.
So you're suggesting the drafting of dissenting opinions, or suggesting that we should take a while to draft an opinion and then structure it?
I'm not sure that I'm proposing dissenting opinions. I think they could be lightning rods, you know what I mean?
For dissenting opinions really frighten me.
Right. I think internally, at least, it's useful to be able to come in sort of later in a conversation, like having to catch up on a month and a half of sort of slow Wimbledon tennis, you know, and then be able to say, okay, that's a picture of where we stand, how to go forward. So it was just a thought. Another thought was, you know, maybe verbal communication, you know, Mumble, potentially opening up Mumble to the whole community, and having rooms where we have just teams that can talk.
Yeah, we're currently, actually, I haven't mentioned this, several of us Skype together to try and get things done.
Do you find that productive?
Yes. It's actually, we've had Terence and Yuha and I all on Skype before, and just because we're all same time zone, and we just talk it through and say, hey, this could work or this doesn't work, and it's nice. It's harder to get when you're across time zones because that, you know, you can't get everyone at the same time.
Right.
But I think Mumble would be really, really wonderful if we can open it up.
There's some issues with networks and Mumble, and I know that when I use some Mumble servers, I can't hear anybody, so I don't know how we want to do
I'm
that.
trying to see if we can get the canonical one to be opened up to everyone who's a member.
And then make sure that we have that, so it has acceptable performance for all our members.
Yeah, I haven't heard any feedback saying that performance is an issue in terms of load on the server based on
I don't know if it's
A
server.
point
it's
to
just-
note is, and this wasn't from the IS team, but I was told that to open it up at the current moment, it would not be able to support that.
Okay, that's useful.
It very well could be made to, but at the current stage.
Okay, that's useful.
And I know there are a couple Mumble servers that other people are running and making open to groups to resolve things that people have used successfully, but I don't know that anybody has really tried to scale it to that volume, because that gets a lot of people.
Isn't that a problem if everyone's connected at the same time?
I don't know enough.
Right, I think that's, you know, it's going to scale based on the number of simultaneous.
Yeah.
I mean, you may want to just open it up to councils first, not just all Ubuntu members, because that's quite a big group.
Right. As an alternative to Skype, essentially.
Yes.
Or just limit, open it up to anybody, but it's got to be scheduled, and, that puts more work on it, but making it to where anybody could still do it. For example, the logo directory developers could do it or whatever.
But they have to ask for it all.
Somehow maintaining a balance of the number of users that are allowed to go.
Right. So I thought, when I thought the 2 months thing might refer to that difficult conversation we had, we didn't have a consensus view in the end. I think we tried hard to get a consensus view. There wasn't a consensus view. I think we got a question about it in the governance talk at the end of the day as well. I think it would be good for us to say, when we have a problematic case like this, here's the process we'd like to follow, and to think about that in such a way that we make sure that it's a fair process. To deal with cases where people come in and they just don't know, and to make sure that we can tell the difference between that and somebody that is either unwilling or unable. Sometimes people are unable to follow social code. Either way, we need a process by which we come to a conclusion before that becomes, that is good for the person who's contributing, but also respectful to the other people in the project as well. And I wonder how folks feel about at least having a more public framework for how we would handle situations.
I would really, really like to have it. I was involved in some of the discussions before the complaint, and I was also involved in some of the discussions in the slightly dissimilar but somewhat related case that we had in the council some time ago. And there was a lot of confusion and anger in trying to determine how to move forward to begin a process because it wasn't visible. And I think if we can post that this is a process that we hope is never used again, and put all the surrounding, but to have it there, people will feel comfortable making a complaint or feeling that, okay, we have this process, we know they have this process, let's just take a note, and if a complaint happens, contribute to that kind of thing.
So the code of conduct is about how people treat each other. So it's fundamentally about collaboration. It can be happening in a medium. A problem will show up in a medium. It might be an IRC, it might be across multiple places. We have good governance structures generally, I think, to deal with those different ones, and they should handle that first. I think this is going further. This is when we start to feel that a problem is not related to tools or a particular pattern in a particular thing. It's a deeper issue. And I think we should we should say those things should be escalated. They get escalated to the community council, that is our job. And then we engage, round one, round two, and then we take a view. We're then comfortable to take a view. And those rounds may be faster or slower depending on the nature of the engagement. But I think we've got to also limit how much can be expected in a situation like that. Being public about that might then, make this real for people. They'd understand this is serious, this is true, it's not just a chat, right? We're defending something here, and we'll defend it. I thought you did well. I just thought we were lacking a sense of what the rails were.
Very much, and in the time it was a similar case with similar way to chastise somebody in some way. It felt the same way. And it's unfortunate that it's the same sort of thing. I think it'd be very good to have some documentation so that we have a plan.
Right. I'd be uncomfortable with the idea that it ever becomes comfortable. Right. This is what should be difficult stuff, but at the same time, that's our job.
I don't so much mean comfortable for us, but comfortable for the people who are unhappy with the thing. I'd rather, if there's a problem, people feel comfortable just escalating because they know there's a process to do that rather than being confused. Not that I expect a lot of escalations, but...
Right. Look, I think this will happen so rarely, especially if you care about the fact that this is not going to work for anybody. It'll happen even more rarely, which means when it does happen, it's always a little bit of Jesus doesn't happen for a long time, and we're sure we want to use. But let's perhaps get something down on code of conduct violation escalation. How's the R&D process working now? We merged. What did we merge?
We're in the process of merging the mailing list now. And what already happened was that some RMBs borrowed members from other RMBs if they couldn't get quorum. But it looked like a bunch of people were opposed to the idea of completely merging. I think that's the status quo now.
Is it the case that you can actually go to the R&B meeting for a different...
Yes, that's widely accepted and frequently done.
Okay, so time zones work better for you. If you're an Australian that lives in California time, then there you go. Okay, that's quite healthy. So in fact, they are Ubuntu membership boards that happen to
right, and the
get us
board
time zone
that's
coverage.
currently doing least well. There's a number of people who've just gone to the other boards to work around that problem.
Right. How would you characterize the status of things there? Is it shaky or healthy or uncertain? Or?
I think most of them are doing quite well now.
There's only one board that's having too many issues right now.
Yeah, we need, and we reached out to the local council, but I haven't heard back. But if they can help us talk to a few members in Asia, Oceania, and get new members on board again.
Yeah, because we put out a call and no one really responded. We know there are active people out there, so we just need to talk to them directly and say, hey, would you be willing to volunteer for this?
Yeah.
And the local council's in a better position to do that.
You were commenting the other night that you said that one of the problems is that that board covers so many more time zones.
Okay, so within about 3 weeks of that board being created, we wanted to split it into 2 overlapping boards because we couldn't find a time that was good for both India and New Zealand to be awake.
Right.
So, and we've had persistent issues in trying to get people to volunteer to go to it and trying to establish a schedule for it. We aren't functioning very well.
Maybe we need to make a Southeast Asia board.
And an Oceania board.
Maybe we need to split
Just
that.
there's too many time zones there.
The last proposal was still keep the one board, but they would have 2 meetings per month.
Right.
No, it was to make the board, have the board be like 9 members instead of 5 and have 6 of them on this side and 6 of them on that side or something.
Yeah, that's fine.
And we proposed that a long time ago and we've never managed
I think
it.
someone needs to take ownership on that board. Maybe we find someone in the community or, just someone, because the problem is like they don't get scheduled and because no one's really like the secretary for the team who's...
That's when we've had secretaries, they've retired, so I suppose that should be me, so
This is a particular skill, It's the getting stuff done skill. It's one of our core values. You know what I mean? And I wonder how we can figure out to celebrate that. Because I think it could happen in lots of different places. You know what I mean? It's that gene of learning how to move things along and and get stuff done. I feel like we should celebrate that. I don't have it myself, but that's kind of maybe why, that's kind of maybe why I celebrate it when I see it in people. But I wonder if as a project we couldn't, learn to spot that. Somebody doesn't need to have great developer skills to kind of help get stuff done.
Management
That's a
skills.
hurting catching, yes.
Yeah, it's logistics, it's organization, it's, you know, motivation. But it's a particular company. I feel like if we had antennae, we could pull people who show potential like that into positions that they might otherwise not think about. You know,
To
get someone
encourage
like,
them to make things happen rather than encouraging them to do a lot of activity and then document it and then maybe consider them to have things happen.
say that again.
So instead of, it seems to me like right now we encourage people to demonstrate a lot of activity as part of becoming a Ubuntu member. So instead encourage these people to step forward and demonstrate that they are helping enable all these
Right.
activities and consider that as a significant contribution.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, I mean, Christian Perrier, for example, in Debian, is an amazing guy. Speaks a few languages, I imagine, but not all of them, and yet facilitates this tremendous process, and you know, is celebrated for that facilitating role. We have many folk, you know, in the Ubuntu community like that too, but we don't really have a word for it. We tend to look at particular domains, look for competence in those domains.
One other thing, if I may bring up again, is I think we need to make team reporting easy. At the moment, it's just entering. Yeah,
It's just what?
entering stuff on the wiki page, and it's not
That's
it's
so
not
much-
conducive to doing it on a regular basis when things come up, and then if you try and do it on the 20th of the month when it's due, then it doesn't really work. We
Is
do.
this better?
I think if we had a situation where we recommended that each board or council on a fortnightly basis tends to coincide with meeting cycles, send a summary, and it could be meeting minutes plus some activity during that time, to a central place. They're all coming in slightly irregular schedules, but then we can collate that to create a generalized report rather than trying to get all of the teams to match a single cadence in reporting which may not match the cadence of work of the team.
There's currently a branch that I believe Daniel was working on, a team report branch, to make a web app to do it. Basically, that's still on my to-do list from last cycle.
Yes.
And if somebody wants to help out, I'll be glad to show you.
What's it do?
It was just a very simple Django app that you put in team reports, like items for months, so you could more easily group things that happen, or if you wanted to have, I mean, it's easily extensible, so you could have private reports, or you know, if you're reporting to the CC, they could see blah blah blah. You could do all kinds of things, but in the beginning, we just wanted to have it very, very
I
simple.
think one of the things that I think really needs to be in this is the ability to just add an item when it happens. So just really, okay, this has happened. We need to get that to the team report. We put it on now, and it just happens. You know, you just have to add the 1 or 2 lines about the item and click OK, and it's on your team report. And just make it really easy.
You can do
for,
it.
yeah.
That's easily possible on the wiki.
Yeah, it's. You don't need some wiki much, do you?
If we follow George's
Okay,
advice and we
as
delete
easily
most of the wiki, it won't be quite so slow anymore.
It's as easily possible as it's as easy to do within the constraints of the wiki.
Yeah. No, because the wiki you need to format it. The wiki you need to do this. In the wiki you need to do that. The wiki you need to wait for 40 minutes for it to work.
On the other side, if it were a web app, you probably have, each item would need to go in a different field. You'd say, I have to do so many tabs. It's going to be a problem anyway.
Clicky, fiddly,
Yeah.
clicky.
Yeah.
No, because normally all you're going to do is add one item at a time. Oh, okay, this has happened. Quickly go to the app, bang, it happens.
No,
Let's not get too much into implementation detail. Let's take a, if anyone has time, take a look at the team reporting app. Let's see if we can do that. Until then, let's try to remind everyone that we'd like to do team reporting. We'd like to understand the problems people are having with them, and then we're in a better position to look at an improvement.
The other thing about the way that it's done on the wiki at the moment, which is a real annoyance, is you've got team reports, which pulls in team reports current, which pulls in team reports that month. And you have to go and change that month and that current and not the other one. And that's really weird.
That's just archive.
But with that process, it actually updates the
Yeah,
full
I understand
team report.
why we have the process. It's just that it's very convoluted and very annoying.
I agree.
So, all I'm saying is, can we try to make something which streamlines all of this and makes our job easier?
The base of it is there, you're free to, it's open source.
Yeah, patches welcome.
I'm not sure. I mean, it's a problem, but I'm not sure it's the big problem we have.
no, the thing is, see, if you want to change that, you need to go ahead and make some changes, scripts that will update the weekly newsletter. So there's a whole bunch of changes.
That you're seeing something.
I still feel like if we could find a way to generalize the problem, it might be interesting to sorts of people who would then be motivated to fix it for their own reasons, and then we could use the fix. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not sure that just with the number of councils that we have, that editing a wiki page is too much overhead for the number of times it has to happen. If we could find like a use case where lots of people will be using it every day, you know, then...
There isn't.
I mean, is there some sort of reporting that we want from local teams?
Oh yeah.
So could it be integrated with what we get from local teams and a lot of the same thing?
No, it's all the same reporting. What local teams do, what other teams do.
Because then you've got hundreds of use cases rather than 10 or however many councils we have.
Oh, I see. Yeah. That is the method that the local teams are using to update the monthly reports that eventually wind up in UWN.
I mean,
Because it's not just then the random people on councils, but it's all of these people who, if we could bring it all together, that it made everything streamlined for all of those people, then it's probably a lot more interesting.
I mean, something like this, it'd be interesting if we had a session like this open, as Etherpad session open during a community council meeting, then you can see the minutes getting written,
Yes.
you know, which is kind of cool.
Would it be possible about like a MoveBot plugin that would take all the MoveBot output and automatically dump it to something like this?
Well, then you've got to wait for the output to get.
Well, no, but the thing is, the output is
You could
instant.
attach the output afterwards.
No,
but it's-
MoveBot sends real-time output as a query to the admin or the chair, so we could have that go straight to Etherpad just to save on double typing.
And the
Well,
fact
at the
that
end of
Alan
MoveBot-
Bell, who's developing MoveBot, is very interested in Etherpad, that might actually happen.
We have 1 minute left.
Okay.
And MoveBot does at the end of the meeting print out in web form and I believe wiki form the
Wing
minutes.
text, syntax.
All right, you can action item me to go and talk to Alan about that.
Yeah, that sounds interesting.
And that's just
So
about
there'd be an Etherpad space for the team reports.
There'd be an Etherpad space for the meeting, which
You
would
contribute
be
to say,
MoveBot
we're
integrated
having a
so
meeting, there's an Etherpad, boom, 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 and then it
And
goes
stuff goes
added to
in.
the team report.
And then when we close, it goes
I'd
into
like
the
to work
report.
item to add that, had an ability to add an item. Who put that out, work item on?
Which
The
one?
middle one.
Who's in light blue, assigning work to you?
I honestly, I cannot do that.
Oh, he's sitting next to you, I think.
Is that yours? Did you put that on there?
Which?
The middle one for me.
Yes.
Okay.
I think that we won't need that quite as much if we have this action item about coordinating with Alan about Etherpad space for meetings and drop those into team reports. Because making Etherpad spit out, or making Moodbot spit out Moin formatted stuff for Etherpad to cut and paste makes it trivial.
Yeah, it already spits out the Moin format, as far as I know. Or at least the modified version does, which is Alan's.
Yeah.
That's just because Alan hates the original Moin format. That's fine.
Yeah.
Leaving it for time part of it. All right.
Right, we're over.
Oh,
Thank you again to everybody who steps up and helps us lead this thing. It's kind of amazing. Thank you.